Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Mexi here once again, and I am back for yet again for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos as always. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Kirby and the Forgotten Land for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time we have managed able to win through the forms of, let's just say, 3 levels, which are Point of Arrival, and also we did manage able to explore 2 levels in the forms of in Natural Plains, but in forms of Downtown Grassland, and of course through the tunnel. So yeah, and also we did manage able to collect some certain Waddle Dees on those specific levels in mind. So yeah, I think we are pretty much fully accomplished with this world so far. So today, for this video, is the fact that we must be able to continue things on in the forms of in Natural Plains by going through the next level in this game, known as Rocky Rolling Road. Now, if you do not know already, this is my second attempt for this recording session, for those of you who do not know, and that is mainly because, well, if you couldn't tell already, I'm actually going to be playing this on a different file, because it turns out, about the fact the matter is though, is the fact that on the first part of this playthrough, that the file I actually used on the first part was actually on my main file, which I'm currently playing on right now on my own time. But for at the moment right now, I'm playing this on file number 2, as in the forms of how the fact that yes, this game does have the file system, just like in any other Kirby games, which I think that, I think some toys else, including Ray the Flying Squirrel, has already mentioned about that since Donkey Kong Land 2, ever since back in a few weeks ago. Well, something like that. Well, I don't know about you, because it has been about a few days since I actually just managed able to did that conversation. So anyway though, let's get this thing to it with, you know, Rocking Rolling Road. So, of course, this place is going to be filled to the brim with all these rolling rocks just managed able to came over. And as you can see on screen, we actually stumbled across our new copy ability was actually introduced, and that's what appears to be the Ranger copy ability, which I almost first thought that back in the day, but like that was in the beginning of this year, I almost first thought it was actually Gun Kirby, but it turns out it was actually Ranger Kirby. So I was like, okay, that's actually pretty cool, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, usually, relatively speaking, we just don't want to let Kirby use guns ever again. Although technically, that wasn't the first time that Kirby did manage to able to use the gun, because apparently that was in the forms of in a Japanese episode in Kirby Right Back at Ya, which that's the reason why we never got that episode in the English version, because apparently mainly because of the forms of how the fact that, well, most kids might able to actually get scared of able to actually using guns and all that stuff though, and then, well, you probably already know what I'm talking about. And so applies to the forms of how the fact that they did manage to able to cut out certain scenes on in one of those episodes for filmmaking. And as a result though, they've managed to able to cut out in the English dub, mainly because of how the fact that they might find it a bit more, well, inappropriate for, say much for that specific scenes, like, well, you probably already know what I'm going to talk about. It's like, TIF, as in the forms of, like, human counterpart or something. Well, it has been a very long while since I actually seen the show, but, yeah, you should still recommend the show, especially noticeable about the fact that I can't believe it's been about 20 plus years since when the show was first released in Japan. But hopefully I'll get around into the actual show again, as in the entire retrospective again. Although, mind you, I haven't exactly found every single English dub, you know, episodes yet, mainly because some of them are easy to spot, whilst most of the time they've been blocked by certain copyright claims yet again. So, yeah, to be expected by this point, so... Anyway, so what the Ranger Kirby can do is the fact that, like you probably already noticed already from the get-go, that he can able to actually shoot the actual gun, to able to actually just take down those enemies, and every once in a while some targets, which, by the way, in order to able to get certain Waddle Dees, here's the fact that you have to collect, or you're gonna have to destroy, all kinds of targets here and there. So yeah, that's to be expected. And also, one thing I forgot to mention about something, and that is the fact that, yeah, every once in a while, you'll come across into the forms of those glowing spots, which apparently it actually revealed something, which it does kind of reminds me of a little bit from the likes of in certain Yoshi games. Like, if you manage able to come across into something hidden, then basically that is the fact that, well, except the fact that you don't do egg tossing, unlike Yoshi, So, yeah, you get the idea of how this is going. And by the way, you have to be fast on that part until you get this Waddle Dee, because if you don't make it in nick of time, obviously the giant huge rock will be able to actually destroy that particular part of the actual section. And as a result, though, that the only way you can able to try again is either die, or you simply just able to actually just restart the level and then just keep on trying it again. And also, as you notice, that our star coins value for the sake of the forms of file 2 is actually a lot different than my usual file 1. Mainly it's because of how the fact that, like I said, the majority of this playthrough is going to be most likely focusing on file 2 for this playthrough rather than file number 1. That's only mainly because file 1 is my main file to able to use on, so that way I can able to actually get a bit of practice on this game, especially noticeable of where everything is. So yeah, you get the gist of it. And look, we're actually going to be able to take control of Card Kirby again, ever since in point of arrival level. And yeah, basically that's how usually you expect it by this point. So anyways, let's go ahead and carefully drive through this area, and then make sure we don't want to able to get crushed or even fell into the pit, because obviously one of those mission objectives is required to able to actually not to fall into the edge while trying to utilize the car mouthful mode. So there we go. Oh, and all this stage is pretty easy though, especially noticeable that I've managed able to practice this on my own time, and hopefully it should be a piece of cake. And also that every once in a while, I think my figurine collection on this particular playthrough might be a little bit different as well. Because again, that the only thing is about this though is the fact that collecting figurines is kind of random. Kind of like the forms of how it does it on, well, I'll get more in a second. Because either way though, we've rescued every single Waddle Dees on this level. So hopefully we should be able to actually 100% through everything on this world due time. Well, if depending on the fact that if I was currently missing something, then hopefully I'll jump cut on that specific part, and you get the idea about this is going. Alright, next level we have is a trip to Liveville Mall. Okay, so we're actually going to be exploring around on the actual inside the mall, which it almost kind of reminds me of a little bit from the likes of in Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, in Shiver Star. Whenever you try to able to explore the shopping mall itself, except rather than just becoming in the forms of 2.5D, instead now we can able to fully explore it from the forms of the 3-dimension movements. So it's pretty swell, I have to say, especially noticeable we can now able to actually just check on certain stores or certain shops or anything else like that. And it almost kind of reminds me of the Coconut Mall vibe from the likes of in both Mario Kart Wii, Mario Kart 7, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So, for its recent DLC and stuff like that. So anyway, a few things I want to explain for this point today, and that is the fact that, yeah, today's date is of course the 30th of March today, in this case in 2022 today. Only 2 more days to go, folks, until the Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie, is going to be released on the big screen. And I'm so excited for that film still, especially noticeable since I'm a die-hard Sonic fan. So as a result though, I'm still really hyped for this next new film, especially noticeable after 2 years of it when the first one came out. Although sure, we actually every once in a while we stumble across the forms of those sneak peek clips, but I don't normally watch it all the time though, mainly because I'm still waiting for the actual film comes out, because I don't want to able to actually give you guys some massive spoiler alerts, because obviously we just don't want to know what the actual thing itself looks like until we see it for ourselves. So oh yeah, we actually stumbled across the invincibility candy right there, which basically this allows you to once again give you invincibility. So, and this time around though, we got the electric guitar version of that particular theme this time, which is always pretty swell and pretty awesome at the same time. So yeah, regardless of anything else though, that's as far as I can usually describe about, you know, the invincibility candy and stuff like that, with all that, you know, swell lollipop that you might be familiar with ever since in the old days. So anyways, let's go ahead and deal with another mouthful object we can able to utilize with, and this one requires us to able to tilt the control stick up and down until we able to actually tumble it over. And I wonder what this is for. Well, if we able to actually pay attention to that piece of paper, basically we need to hit there because obviously I think there's going to be another one of those mission objectives, which thankfully it might be easy for me, especially noticeable if you're ever able to actually play this game before. Well, mind you, that this game has been out for about 5 days ago at this rate. So as a result though, that way is the actual navigation of which specific direction you want to go to. Like for example, we ended up on the Forms of the Hamburger section. That way, in addition to able to actually getting ourselves some more food, which I'm so jealous that I'm very hungry about, but also we get able to actually access to Waddle Dee right there. So yeah, that's something that's usually sight to behold. And also we stumbled across these familiar escalators, specifically those flat escalators, which it always kind of reminds me of a little bit from my least favorite Pokemon movie, which is Destiny Deoxys. Yeah, I still really do not like that film as much as the films of the next guy though, because I just found that film very boring, because it's just there. But anyway, now we're going to be able to stumble across into the forms of Frosty again, except now that he was in a different form, or should I say, the wild version of Frosty, because after all, we've already kicked his butt in the past, but now it evolves a bit 3D, and you probably get the idea about that. Seriously, fire is so effective in this game, I must admit, because if you try to put too much fire onto most mini-bosses, including boss fights coming up, and especially noticeable with certain enemies and stuff like that, they can really pack a punch this time. Which, I will say, it does look pretty satisfying whenever you do manage to pull this off, so... Anyway, so here's the another familiar copy ability if you haven't played the previous Kirby games before. That's what appears to be the Ice Kirby, where this allows you to once again freeze enemies in place until you're able to actually just act out as like, I don't know, a projectile, so that you can able to actually just try to touch it, and then as a result, you can able to actually just to get rid of the enemies like so. Or you can able to actually just to go ahead and let it stay there and freeze it in place. And then what's cool about this is though is the fact that since we're going to be able to do some freezing stuff for freezing certain enemies and all that stuff, we can also just manage to able to get this, trying to able to act out as like dancing on ice kind of syndrome, like we're skating around all over the place. Especially noticeable, it becomes helpful though, especially noticeable whenever we get to the next world. But then again, we're not going to spoil things majorly though, mainly because of how the fact that we just barely got started. So, anyways, there's another Waddle Dee, which I almost first thought that was actually a bit of a time limit thing, but it turns out that particular, that weird bird-like thingy right there just managed able to fly up and down, so nothing matters anyway, so... And I believe another one of those mission objectives on this particular level is that we have to able to eat 4 of those donuts. I mean, what is this, like Homer Simpson and stuff like that? Donuts and all that stuff. Which, as a result though, I don't mind donuts though, but I haven't exactly eaten donuts for such a long while. But anyways, I'm more on about the forms of the ring-shaped, you know, donuts, because I think that was actually kind of my favorite version of those donuts. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't mind it, but either way, let's just go ahead and tilt this little bookshelf over, and then as a result, we can able to actually see what's beyond in this room, and it appears to be an ice cream icon, and of course another capsule, so that way we can able to get a random toy figure, and something tells me about the fact that the direction we're about to be hit onto, sorry for a little bit of a tongue twist in the end folks, but basically though is the fact that we must able to go in here, because that way we can able to figure out which specific way we need to go to, and this is one of them. So in addition to able to get ourselves some more cakes, and also 3 treasure chests, not only contains Waddle Dee got caged inside of it, and also if we open up this chest here, more star coins, and the chest on the left, also more star coins as well. So that's all for that one. And of course, another donut that we've just eaten. And it's a good thing we did manage to able to navigate for this level within a total breeze, is because one of those missions in particular is the fact that you really want to complete this level without getting lost or confused. So yeah, it's a good thing we did manage to pay attention to the actual the piece of paper whenever we do manage to find some of these things. So anyways, let's keep on jiggle the actual the control stick until we break this wall. Oh man, that is quite satisfying if you try to do something like that. And that way, we're able to open up with the end of a level, and also objective complete. And on top of all that stuff though, another objective complete, thanks to the forms of the fourth and the final donut we just eaten. So, yeah, I think we should be all set in due time. Oh, and by the way, the reason why I keep on pausing the game for some reason, it's mainly because I always have to be sure I need to double check on the actual mission objectives to see what some certain stuff I've missed. Especially noticeable because, well, again, if I was missing something, then obviously I would have to do a massive jump cut until I'm able to actually just not only do a successful run, but also just trying to find some stuff as possible. But either way, there we go. So once again, we've rescued more Waddle Dees. Oh yeah, something's worth mentioning. Just like the Sunstones, and especially noticeable with the code blocks, and especially noticeable with certain green stars from Super Mario 3D World, and also say applies to star medals from Super Mario 3D Land, and certain power stars in both Super Mario Galaxy 1 and Super Mario Galaxy 2. Every once in a while, in order to actually access the boss level, we must be sure we need to collect the insane amount of those Waddle Dees as much as you can. And, yeah, because that was actually the requirement in order to progress. But before we take on the first boss fight in the game, let me quickly go over to those Treasure Road. And basically, these are kind of like the equivalent to, let's just say the Mysterious House levels from Super Mario 3D Land and 3D World. Except this time around though is the fact that we are actually now going to be relying on the forms of, you know, copy abilities instead of like a traditional Mario gameplay style. So as a result though, that these treasure roads are usually divided into a few sections. So in this case though, like the first one we're going to be doing is trying to utilize Cutter. So in this case though, we can able to actually just to grab those specific pieces, which I think that usually connects in as in the star. You know, think of like the forms of how it does it on the key coins from the likes of Super Mario 3D World and the Power Moon shards from the likes of in Super Mario Odyssey. So yeah, you probably get the idea of how this is gonna turn out to be. So anyways, let's go ahead. Oh, seriously? Okay, whatever. But at the very least, we can able to actually just to progress. And then if you manage to able to complete certain sections of this entire treasure road, then you will be rewarded with a very peculiar rare stone. So yeah, that's obviously we're going to be aiming for the sake of trying to completions. So, well, or should I say, trying to accomplish certain, you know, optional things. So, well, regardless of anything else though, I'm just gonna get out to able to try to collect so much of those rare stones until we're able to actually use for something. So, anyways, now let's move on to the bomb one. In this case, triple strikes bowling for switches by using bomb ability. So we can able to just do this. So, and every once in a while though, there will be at times that you will come across into the actual target time records, which thankfully though, that these target time records doesn't count for the 100% completion. They're just bragging rights. So this means about the fact that you don't need to necessarily try to able to beat your certain time on those specific challenges. I mean, the only thing you can only get if you manage to accomplish certain things like this is just more star coins, and that's pretty much about it. So, kind of a lame reward, honestly, but regardless of such though, that it doesn't bother me at all whenever we don't do these kind of stuff. In fact, I've managed to able to come across into it right here, which the only thing you can get is just 50 star coins if you succeed that target time. So, I might not do it all of it, because obviously there are some of them are pretty easy, whilst most of them are pretty difficult at times. And as you can tell, because of how the fact that it shows us the actual orange star icon, this actually represents the difficulty of these challenges. So, for the most part, I think the first few Treasure Road challenges are pretty easy and self-explanatory, but then eventually later on, whenever you continue progressioning into the game starts to get a lot harder any forms of how it does it on, well, I would say for this point from the start, though, is the fact that most people complain about the forms of the difficulty in Kirby Star Allies, because overall, that game is overall way too easy compared to the other games in the series. Well, the only time it's a bit difficult, though, is the actual add-on content into the Forms of Another Dimension mode. Like, that was the only challenging part of the Forms of Star Allies, but it's kind of weird they managed to add that particular mode late in the actual, well, specifically with the Forms of some free update DLC kind of routine. So, but honestly, I have no idea why they managed to able to put it so late. Well, it's in the Forms of Kirby and the Forgotten Land this time, that thankfully the difficulty is a bit more balanced. Like, it might be still a bit tad easy in certain parts, but I will say is the fact that the actual difficulty is a bit more balanced this time. So, at the very least, you might able to still come across into certain challenges and stuff like that. But, yeah, at least I appreciate about that. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and move on to this next treasure road, which this time we are now going to be utilizing the Ranger form. In this case, the Ranger copy ability, so that way we can able to aim for targets. Or should I say, break the targets. Kind of syndrome. Except the fact that, well, it's kind of weird about the fact that I still find it a bit weird that Smash Ultimate is the only game in the series does not have the break the targets kind of segments, which I will say I really do miss those days. But regardless of everything else, though, it's like it's hard to cope with it. But regardless of such, though, I don't mind about the actual absence. So anyway. So, another thing I want to explain about this while this is happening is that recently, I've managed to able to pick up another Kirby game on my own time. That's what appears to be the physical version of Kirby's Dream Land 2 for the Game Boy. And luckily, I managed able to find that game in a cheaper price. Because unlike any other items for Kirby's Dream Land 2 on eBay, it's so expensive. Either with complete copy, or with a loose cartridge, which could be either be the European version or the American version. Well, I do notice the fact that the Japanese version of that particular cartridge is a lot more cheaper than the forms of how it does it on the English versions for some reason. Well, mind you, I've managed to able to find that copy within 40 quid, so it's not too bad. But the only thing I'm really hoping for is the fact that I don't come across into the exact same problem I have with certain Game Boy games I've purchased in the past, ranging from Wario Land 3 for the Game Boy Color and Donkey Kong Land 2 for the Game Boy, because those two games I remember in the past that I'm having a lot of issues with the saving issues. So hopefully in Kirby's Dream Land 2's case, I won't be able to come across into that issue again. But if it does, then I'm probably not going to sell it, because I think I might as well able to still stuck with the forms of the 3DS Virtual Console re-release or something. But either way though, we'll see what happens there. So anyways, oh yeah, speaking of the forms of another topic for this point today, and that is the fact that, well, as far as I found out, despite the fact that most people don't care about the forms of Mario Kart Tour anymore, most notably because, you know, DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is now a thing. So as a result though, that, relatively speaking, for Mario Kart Tour, for the Samurai Tour, it's almost come towards the end. Well, I would say we only got about a week left until we're able to move on to the next tour, apparently, because thanks to the forms of that particular spoiler alert, specific Twitter page or something like that, well, as far as I'm aware, because usually Mario Kart Tour has been out for about 2.5 years now, since 2019. So as a result though, that's, well, we're still on the forms of the Samurai Tour, which obviously features Samurai Mario and Pink Ninja Shy Guy, and also the another cosmetic of Peach and stuff like that. But apparently though, we're about to be able to get ourselves another returning track based off from Mario Kart 64, and of course, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, or Mario Kart 8 in general. Yes, apparently until next week, we're about to be hitting back onto this nostalgic track from Mario Kart 64, which is Yoshi Valley. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to say the least, although that I'm very curious to see what there's going to be some significant changes rather, with that particular track in mind, because for some reason I keep on thinking about trying to get used to with or maybe I'm keep on used to with the forms of the Mario Kart 8 version, because obviously that particular track is so fun to play on Mario Kart 8 / Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because after all, I keep on playing that track on online matches and stuff like that. Maybe I'll try to get back into it at some point, whilst DLC Pack 2 will be on the horizon. So, and I believe also is the fact that they might actually bring in another variant of Yoshi, and also another variant of Bodo or something. Well, as far as I'm aware, it's going to be White Bodo, because we already had Black Bodo. So, yeah, it makes sense able to actually add in White Bodo, because obviously we haven't had white version of Bodo ever since. So, yeah, it makes a little bit more sense able to add her to, you know, the actual character roster and stuff like that. So, but unfortunately though, it's going to be locked behind those stupid gacha moments, which I still really hate that particular system. Well, I understand for freebie games and stuff like that to download and play them, but it's just the fact that I hate how the fact that in a Mario game nonetheless, that it's locked behind those stupid gacha moments, and it's just, that's just tiring. But anyway though, enough about that, so let's go ahead and move on to the next Treasure Road challenge, which this time we're now going to be utilizing with the ice ability, so that way we can able to slid down while trying to freeze enemies in the process. So this is actually quite a lot of fun. So anyway, oh yeah, I suppose I should probably mention about this as well, I guess. I suppose that Ray the Flying Squirrel has forgot to mention about ever since in Donkey Kong Land 2. Apparently though, unfortunately though, and during at some point later on this year, there's going to be another mobile game is about to be able to actually get into the lost media. So yeah, remember the forms of Miitomo from the likes of the forms of back in long time ago, and especially noticeable with the forms of Dr. Mario World. And yeah, remember those two games for Nintendo's smart devices, that those games are no longer available anymore. Well, apparently we're gonna get our third game will be delisted at some point later on throughout the year. So, although, before we talk more details about that, let's hit on to the forms of the very first boss level in the entire game so far. That's what appears to be the Brawl at the Mall. So in this case though, we are once again going to be traversing through the entirety of the mall again, except the fact that we might able to come across into ourselves, you know, like I said, the first boss in the game, so hopefully we can able to expect this much. So anyway, so what's up with these whole abundance of bananas there? I wonder what that could be there for. I suppose we should probably find out for ourselves until whenever we able to progress for the sake of the forms of... Let me just go ahead and equip ourselves the sword ability, because as far as I'm aware, we can able to actually just take one of those bosses down in no sweat or anything else like that. So let's just go in here and... oh, jeez, he looks pretty big from the looks of all that stuff though. And it turns out it was actually a gorilla. So yeah, no wonder why it got a lot of bananas and we got grabbed. So in order to break free, we need to rotate the control stick, and we actually introduce him to ourselves, Gorimondo. So yeah, this is actually the first boss in the game, the first proper boss in the game. So basically, he's probably without a doubt one of the easier fights in the game. Although, whenever I'm actually able to first time playing this boss, I have no idea why I'm always having a hard time with this fight to begin with. Although maybe it's because I was a bit hasty, or maybe it's because, well, as far as I'm aware, that yeah, much like the forms of those regular levels, boss fights do have mission objectives. So in this case though, it's a good thing we did manage able to equip the sword ability, so that way we can able to take him down with the sword copy ability. And unfortunately though, I've somehow managed to take a hit, but that's okay though, because I think I'm also able to replay this boss fight twice, because as far as I'm aware, that you probably already know why of what this is going to be coming up. So yeah, after for several hits on him, then we'll move on to the second phase of the fight. That basically is the fact that he just somehow managed able to spin around, and then basically get out able to avoid him. And of course, just like in any other games in the series, that you can also just manage able to swallow up the star projectile, so that way you can able to actually toss it back into him, so that way you can deal with extra damage. But if you're trying to able to utilize certain copy abilities, although it might deal some bit of damage, but if you couldn't tell already about the fact that, well, sometimes you might take forever to able to actually just to hit him at certain points. So there we go, since we did manage to defeat him, and of course we can able to rescue 3 Waddle Dees, and of course we get another Waddle Dee based off from that particular mission objective, which is to be more specifically trying to deal with the boss with the sword ability. And on top of all that stuff though, there's another objective, which means we need to beat him in a certain time. And finally, we didn't get that one last Waddle Dee for not just the entire world, but also in terms of this stage in particular, and that is... oh boy, where do I even begin with this? Yes, apparently though, one of those mission objectives that I somehow did not do, and that's of course trying to take him down without taking a single hit. So, yeah, I guess it's kind of like the equivalent to, in one of those missions in terms of Warrior Land, the Shake Dimension. So, yeah, I wasn't too surprised there, but at least it's there for the sake of challenge, for the sake of time. And as you can see, this is technically our first time we're able to actually see the actual hub world of any sort, which appears to be the Waddle Dee town. And basically you can do all sorts of things here. Well, despite the fact that not every single building has been constructed yet, but at the moment we can only go into the forms of quite a number of things. Like, for example, we actually stumbled across this particular house over there, which basically means is the fact that, well, I'll get to that in a second. Here's the theater room right here, so that way you can able to rewatch certain cutscenes of the game, similar to other games in the series. But also, we've actually stumbled across Waddle Dee's weapon shop. And basically, this allows you to able to actually let your copy abilities to manage able to get themselves upgraded, which, yes, you can actually upgrade your copy abilities into their stronger efforts, which I will say that, you know, with the forms of those rare stones we actually keep on collecting during the course of the Treasure Road stages, well, basically we can able to actually use those rare stones until you're able to upgrade your specific copy abilities. Although at the moment right now we can only equip the fire ability into Volcano Fire, and then that way we can able to actually just to upgrade our copy ability from here. But here's the thing though, in addition to able to try to use ourselves the rare stones, but also use these star coins in the process, so that way you can able to actually see that particular Waddle Dee just trying to do some bit of crafting, and that way you can able to actually now use the upgraded version of specific copy abilities, which I will say that is the greatest aspect about this game, especially that if you're having a hard time trying to deal with the forms of enemy encounters or specifically boss fights every once in a while, then thankfully you can able to actually upgrade your weapons to your disposal. Some of them can be ranging from, you know, how cool the how the actual spammable of the actual weapons can usually use. Well, despite the fact that I didn't exactly pay attention to the actual text, because, well, unfortunately though, whenever I was trying to do some commentary and stuff like that with a small preview screen, that most of the actual game text are really small, but either way though, I do apologize for that, so that's only mainly because that's how usually Rockstar Game Capture HD software for video wave software that's usually concerned with. So anyway, so now we're done with the forms of trying to explore for a little bit from Waddle Dee Town. After all, we've already did manage to upgrade 2 of those copy abilities, so yeah, that should be cool and really effective throughout the whole entire thing. And also, we've now actually access to the second world in the game, which appears to be a tropical beach setting. In this case though, we ended up in Ever Bay Coast, so... but we'll save that until the next video, because we need to hit back into this level again, and hopefully we'll be able to take care of the forms of the final objective of this entire boss, so that way we can able to actually deal with this boss fight without taking any hit, so, or should I say, do not get any damage at all for the entire fight. So can be tricky to pull off, but regardless of such though, if you do manage to able to know about the forms of the boss patterns, then you should be fine for the most part. So, anyway, so let's get into the forms of that particular conversation about the fact that, yeah, unfortunately though, one of those mobile games is going to be able to actually just end its service until later on in this year, which appears to be, Dracula Lost. So in this case though, is the fact that I've never actually heard about that game, but I do know for the fact that that game has been out for about, well, let's just say for about 3.5 years. So, yeah, I can't believe time flies all of a sudden. So, because of that, though, yeah, it kind of sucks that particular game is also going to get itself ending service, much like the forms of Dr. Mario World, and especially noticeable with the forms of Miota. I'm guessing what that particular app game is actually called. Well, despite the fact that I haven't exactly looked upon the forms of that much Nintendo games for specifically with smart devices, because I'm used to with the forms of the Switch games and stuff like that. But either way though, we're not exactly sure when that particular service is about to end, well, as far as I'm aware, because either way though, like I said, I haven't exactly looked upon that much gameplay footage of Dracula Lost, well, at least as far as I'm usually concerned with that stuff. So, and as far as I'm aware, I think that's as far as I can usually try to explain it for this point, guys, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, you know, relatively speaking, in fact, throw it on the comments below for the question of the day. Are you guys super excited able to actually finally get a chance to watch Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie at some point? Well, for those of you who lived in North America, unfortunately you still need to wait for a little while until, you know, the 8th of April. But for those of you who lived in the UK, that's specifically this coming Friday, are you guys super looking forward to it? Because I surely still do, even though we've already mentioned about that specific conversation loads of times in the past. Because let me tell you, I'm so excited for that film finally comes out. Although I'm sure that the reviews have already managed able to put up, but I think I should probably discuss on that until when that film finally comes out in the UK on the cinema. So yeah, that might be something you need to able to make things a bit more, you know, suitable when it comes to likely try to say things like that. So, but there we go, folks. The Natural Plains has been fully completed because, after all, we've now actually rescued the final Waddle Dee on that world. And then if you manage able to save every single Waddle Dees in any other world, you're able to get this message right here. You save all of the Waddle Dees in one of those worlds. So, anyway, I think suffice to say, we'll go ahead and end things off here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. That is the fact that we'll head over to the forms of the next world in the game, known as Everbay Coast. So that should be cool to see. So I'll see you guys on Friday. Later, fellas.